Hello, today we're going to be doing a simple word count using PySpark. Our text that we're going to use to count is the Pride and Prejudice book by Jane Austen. I basically removed a couple headers and a couple footers, so it'll be relatively easy to process and then word count. However, it still has some punctuation. So I'll show you the text itself. Sorry, it's my GitHub. So a few things I noticed immediately. It has semicolons, it has commas, it has double hyphens. So to do a proper word count, you have to get rid of capitalization. I guess that's a little bit optional if you care about how many proper nouns occur in the story or whatever you're counting. And in general, most of the punctuation should come out because Darcy with a comma is not going to be counted the same as Darcy. So onto the actual script itself. Depending on how you installed PySpark, you can immediately call a Spark context, or you'll have to do some special import. And if you have a question, just please leave a comment and I'll get back to you. So the first thing to do is to basically read your text file. So for me, I have a folder called data near this directory, and then I have the script or the text file, and I named it Pride and Prejudice. I'll have this on my website, but I can also leave a couple links to other sites as well where you can get it. So first thing to do is to essentially load the text file, put it to RDB format, and then I want to see the first 5 elements in the RDD. So the first thing I notice is that it comes in Unicode. If you were using Python 3, this is not going to be a real problem because everything's pretty much default, like Unicode. Whereas I'm using Python 2, so that's a problem with string manipulations. So if you type your string just in general, you'll see that it's Unicode. So these next 2 lines over here are essentially most of the punctuations possible, and the string library has a nice method called punctuation, which basically gives you a nice long string of possible punctuations. So this is the code here for cleaning the text of punctuation and lowercasing everything. And the first thing it does, it encodes, so it basically changes from Unicode to a string in Python 2. And the next thing it does is it lowercases letters, so capital D would go to D, and this is across that whatever you're importing into your flat map, and I'll get into that in a second. So what this does over here, so essentially after you basically make it a string, lowercase it, this is going to replace double hyphens and with a space. So things like altogether Mr. Bingley, or altogether Mr. is not counted as one word. It should be 2, presumably. And you can get into regular expression if you really want to get really precise with all this. Regex gives you a lot of options if you want to manipulate text. So the final line in this function of cleaning our text is it'd be the equivalent of string.translate. And the reason why I recommend string.translate is it's the fastest. And if you're doing something simple like a word count, you're not going to notice, but for more complex applications, if you're streaming data from Twitter and it actually matters your speed, string.translate is a very optimized method. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go line by line of these transformations and show you what the output. So actually, I didn't run this method before, or this cell. So word count, okay. So from the original text file, the function I described up above, which basically removes all punctuation, converts it to a string, and basically cleans the text. So .map goes through every line of the file, and it basically applies an operation to it. So you'll see with .map it gives Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So this is line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5. And this makes intuitive sense because .take is an action, and it gives you the first 5 elements in your RDD. So the next thing I'll show you is, in addition to a regular cleaning of strings, so this will yield a string for each element in the RDD. But what split does is, if you're familiar with Python, this is just the normal split, where split's default is it splits if there's a space. So you'll notice from the first line where we had Pride and Prejudice, we have an array with Pride and Prejudice. So essentially, with the .split, you're going to get a nested array versus just a normal array on your output. So what I did is, instead of, I like the split because you eventually have to isolate your words, but what I did is called a flat map, which flattens the array. Instead of giving you nested arrays after the split, it'll just give you a nice array. So that was good. But the next thing I wanted to do was I wanted to get keys and values. Because in PySpark and Hadoop, you essentially shuffle, and a lot of times you accumulate and count your keys. You're basically doing a lot of aggregation type of functions. So what you'll see here is I am passing in the string from above right here, and I am basically making it part of a tuple, where the index 0 is going to be the key, which is our original string, and the value is going to be 1. So basically every word is initialized to be counted once. So what's eventually going to happen here is we're going to reduce by key, which you'll see in the next line, where for every key we're going to sum all the keys together, and basically this index over here is going to add together. So if prejudice appears 10 times in our document, we'll get prejudice, comma 10. So this code over here outputs key value pairs. However, it's not as interesting typically if you want to know what words occurred most often in a document. And a lot of machine learning, you basically have to account for removing common words, because otherwise you're not going to get anything very interesting. For example, if you actually see the sorted version below, you'll notice that very, very common words, quote-unquote stop words, appear very, very often. And essentially what I did over here is I sorted by key. So, well, earlier on I did a map which basically reversed our key value pairs, so I could sort by key, because originally these numbers here were our values and not our keys. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm more than willing to help, and have a great day. Thank you.